I bet you're one of those people who believe the earth is flat. You brat, I bet you also have a falsehood to support that lie. The International Space Station, you go high enough and you'll see the curve of the earth. Lies! What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am your average Redditor, and today we're going to be looking at r/EntitledParents. EP goes insane when I'm discussing geology. Let me preface that one thing I hate most as a geology major is flat earthers. These people I tend to ignore until they start insulting my field of study. Another thing I can't stand is zealot nutjobs who dismiss science. This EP happened to be both. FML. Cast: me, geology major; FBM, friend who is a biology major; EP, effing Karen; and NK, nice kid. So this story takes place earlier today of post, while my friend and I are at Applebee's catching up and talking about our fields. First we discuss what we were doing in our lives. The usual, what's been happening, any luck in love, and etc. First we discuss his field and what he wants to do. Hell, he went in the deep end about DNA. In the middle of our conversation, the EP joins. Of course, when we shift gears talking about my field. I was talking about applications of isotopes in geological dating. She was dressed in a very modest outfit and a large cross around her neck. In my mind, I thought, oh well, here we go. Probably gonna assume we were gay. Of course, that wasn't the issue, surprisingly. EP, calm at first. Why are you feeding this establishment with falsehoods? Me, confused. What do you mean? Well, what you are discussing, nothing can be older than the last 2,000 years. Spreading falsehoods is a sin in the name of our Lord. Me, trying to utter under my breath. Well, F me, here we go again. FBM, try not to laugh. Good luck. Do you both realise this is no laughing matter? Why do you dismiss scientific progress that has been peer-reviewed to death? How can you believe in things that are driven from lies? Everything you claim to be true is based off things you can't see. My buddy begins laughing his arse off as he knew what my next response would be. How can you believe in a God you can't see? The EP is now pissed. How dare you insult my religion? Using your own logic against you. I bet you're one of those people who believe the earth is flat. You brat, I bet you also have a falsehood to support that lie. The International Space Station, you go high enough and you'll see the curve of the earth. Lies! I roll my eyes. Please leave and go back to your Bible-thumping society. You will never get into heaven. By this point, what I assumed to be her child came up. Like mother, he was also wearing a cross. However, he was in a sweater vest, I would say about 7. Mummy, you gonna come back to eat with Daddy and I? Yes, honey, Mummy needs to do one thing and I'll be right back. She is now on her knees and her cross is to her lips. Dear Heavenly Father, please forgive these sinners. They spread falsehoods and I wish their souls to be saved. Please bring your spirit upon them and save them from the devil. After she did that, she got up and went back to her table. The odd thing was that her child didn't follow, and this surprised us. Please don't be upset with Mummy. She can be weird. I'm sorry. He followed after EP. After that, I simply gave the "what the F just happened" remark to my buddy. To avoid other conflict, we just talked about simple things in life. So this EM is the double whammy then. A flat earther and also a crazy zealot. What a combination. Flat earthers really do crack me up. Their logic is just nonsensical. Entitled mother steals gift package from a poor, hard-working single mum and her 6-year-old daughter because it was on my doorstep. Don't worry folks, there will be a TLDR because I'm well aware of how long-winded I am. This isn't as totally insane as some of the stories on here, but it is a situation that makes my blood boil just remembering it, so I feel that I need to post it here and just sorta see what you all think. Because it's possible that I'm just overreacting, but I really don't think that's the case. This was a couple of years ago, and I wasn't exactly involved firsthand, so apologies if some details are vague or inconsistent. So I had this aunt, who I'll call Ella for privacy's sake, because God knows this woman does not need any more trash, and she isn't technically my real aunt. What she is my uncle's ex-girlfriend, as they only lasted a few months before they broke it off. He doesn't exactly have his life together, to put it mildly. But she was such a nice and cool person that we consider her a part of the family anyway. Ella has a daughter named Maggie, again change for privacy, who at the time this took place was about 6 years old. Ella was and still is a single mother, as, not to get too personal, but Maggie was the result of a rape that occurred while Ella was trained to join the military. Upon discovering she was pregnant, she was essentially kicked out because A, pregnant people can't really do the sort of rigorous training boot camp type of stuff this program required, and less officially, B, it was almost certainly her higher up at the time who raped her, and they didn't want to deal with the consequences. That second bit is just speculation, as the effing cow drugged her, so Ella has no idea who it was. All she knew was that suddenly she was pregnant, unemployed, and had nowhere to go. But Ella is just one of the most badass people I've ever met. She took that awful situation and ran with it, working her ass off at whatever job she could get to get herself an apartment and prepare herself for being a mother. She had no college education as she couldn't afford it and had actually joined the military with the hope that it would help her get through college, but obviously that didn't turn out well. Nevertheless, she gave birth to Maggie a few months later and has been fighting tooth and nail ever since to get that girl as stable and happy an upbringing as she possibly can. Ella won't say anything about it, but we all know she's had to sacrifice a lot in order to do that. She's gone hungry countless nights so her daughter wouldn't have to. She's worked horrible, demanding jobs on little to no sleep just to earn what little money they'd give her so she could keep the two of them afloat. And she still does everything in her power to make sure she's there for Maggie whenever she needs her. The woman's a goddamn saint is what I'm saying. Naturally, when my family got to know her, we were determined to help out however we could. We're not exactly rich per se, but we are pretty well off, enough so that we could absolutely spare enough to pay for a couple bills here and there, and make sure neither of them starved. Additionally, my parents helped Ella to find a better paying, more stable job, which has made a pretty big improvement on their lifestyle, so I've been told at least. But they still struggle, and Ella has said more than once that her biggest source of distress is the fact that she feels Maggie hasn't been able to be a real kid, able to play without worry or hunger plaguing her. So we thought we'd try to help that. My mum put together a sort of care package for Maggie's birthday, filled not only with enough food to feed the two of them for several weeks, but also some sweets that Maggie normally never got, and the crown jewel of it all, brand new toys and clothes for Maggie to enjoy. The last time they'd been over, Maggie had been upset because the stuffed unicorn she'd had for a while was falling apart, so my mum bought this very pretty, very cute looking unicorn plushie to replace it that was just like her last one, as well as a set of those little plastic butterfly clips we'd caught her eyeballing in my sister's room. All in all, the package cost a couple $100, but we all agreed that that was nothing if it meant making that little girl happy. Well, Maggie's birthday comes and goes and we don't hear anything, which is a bit odd as even though we told her it wasn't necessary, Aunt Ella tended to be the type of person who'd make some pretty big displays of gratitude. She had a staunch belief in sending handwritten thank you notes after every gift we gave her, so it was kind of weird that we hadn't heard anything from her. Weird enough that my mum decides to call and ask about it. They never received the package. My mum is beside herself. She contacts the post office, frantically asking if it had gone lost or delayed or anything like that, as not only was it a pretty dang important package, but some of the food in there was fresh and would definitely have gone bad by now. The post office tells her that no, they delivered it, which causes even more confusion. How is that possible? It turns out what had happened was that somehow it had gotten delivered to the wrong address. Instead of going to my aunt and cousin, the package got delivered to a family several streets away, in what I feel I must mention was a fairly affluent area. My mum got in contact with the family. To be honest, I'm not sure how she even managed that, but then again, if my mum's determined to do something, she's gonna do it no matter what. The family consisted of a mother, a father, and their two young daughters, both of whom were roughly around Maggie's age. My mum tried to explain the mix-up to them, and here's where the entitlement came in. Now, I wasn't actually present for this phone conversation, but my mum sure ranted about it later, so obviously this isn't going to be the exact dialogue, but it went something like this. Karen: "Oh yeah, that package. Well, we already ate all the food out of it. You didn't think it was a little odd that you got a package you didn't order?" "Well, we thought it was a little weird, but it was just snacks and kids stuff in there, so..." My mum was now very annoyed. "And did you happen to see the giant happy birthday card addressed to my niece on top of all those snacks and kids stuff?" Karen was now sounding pissy. "There was a card, yeah, but I just threw it out. I didn't think it was that important." My mum, eager to resolve the situation before she lost it. "Look mum, I'm not going to argue with you about the card, or the frankly insane fact that you decided to take in, open, and consume food from a package that clearly didn't belong to you. But I am going to ask you to please send all of the clothes, toys, and whatever else you didn't eat to the proper address." Karen was now defensive. "What? Why on earth would I have to do that?" "Because it doesn't belong to you." Yes it does. My daughters love this stuff. I'm not giving it away." "But it's not yours. If your daughters like the stuff so much, then you can go ahead and buy them their own. But what you have now is a birthday gift for my niece who barely has anything, and you have no goddamn right to take it from her." Karen is now shouting, "I didn't take anything. It was on my porch." My mum is now also shouting because F this woman. "It doesn't belong to you. You knew it didn't belong to you. Now for God's sake, just do the right thing and give it back." "I will do no such thing. Just get your stupid niece another package if it matters so much, and quit bothering me and my family about it. If you call again, I will consider it harassment. Goodbye." And with that, she hung up. It took my dad something like 3 hours to calm my mum down from the absolute seething state that call left her in. I don't know whether or not what Karen did was actually illegal, like the kind of thing we could have sued her for or not, but my mum came to the conclusion that this idiot wasn't worth making Maggie wait any longer, and so she put together another pretty much identical package and drove the couple of hours out there to deliver it herself. In the end, Maggie wasn't negatively impacted at all, and neither was Ella. Maggie was delighted to see her present, not seeming to care at all that it was past her birthday, and Ella apparently burst into tears and hugged my mum when she arrived, thanking her profusely for going out of her way to do this. We weren't that negatively impacted either. Sure, we were on a bit of a tight budget for a while after that, but it was nothing really, and definitely worth it for the photo that Ella sent a few days later of an ecstatic looking Maggie with sparkly purple butterfly clips in her messy brown hair, hugging her new stuffed unicorn to her chest and smiling her gap-toothed smile at the camera like it was the happiest day of her life. Ella and Maggie's situation has been steadily improving as of late, and while they're still struggling a little, the last time I saw them they'd both put on a decent amount of weight, which is great since they'd been way too skinny beforehand, and Maggie is apparently doing pretty well for herself at school. I guess all's well that ends well. These entitled parent stories get worse and worse. What sort of parent takes in a package that isn't for them, consumes everything that's in it, and then doesn't even offer to pay back the package? Also, for what it's worth, I think that it is illegal to open or take someone else's mail. I'm not sure, but it falls somewhere under fraud, I believe. So the neighbour could have been up for being sued. So I think that if OP wanted to, they still can sue the person that took their mail. EM wants iPad, gets roasted by Grandpa instead. Backstory: my grandparent and I were on a train when this happened around midday on a not packed train, plenty of seats open. Me, obviously me, GP is Grandpa, EM is entitled Mum, and EK is an entitled kid, around 7 to 9 years old. The train trip was around an hour from where we got on to our destination. We got on and sat in front of the EK and EM. I pulled out my iPad and proceeded to play Zombie Tsunami, which was the game I enjoyed at the time. This is when EK spotted my game. Unlike my last post, where my GP was more surprised at the events, my GP this time took matters into his own hands. EK: what game is that? Oh, it's Zombie Tsunami. You run around with zombies and eat people to gain more zombies, like Subway Surfers, another popular game at the time. Could I please play? I realised that he was a polite kid and therefore was nicer to him. I think this game is a little too inappropriate for him. I showed the game to his mother. Yes, EK, you cannot play that game. I thought that would be the end of it and I could play my game in peace. My GP looks at me and smiles, as I've been polite to a young kid, which is important for the kids to learn. This is where it gets crazy. About a minute later, this conversation happens. EM: can you play a different game? It's inappropriate. She said this quite rudely, but I obliged. My son wants to play. Give me that. She puts her hand over the seat and tries to grab my iPad unsuccessfully. My grandpa says, what are you doing? My son wants to use the iPad so he can play games. What gives you, an unsuccessful mother, permission to grab our iPad? She did that stereotypical shocked face. What did you say to me? My grandpa slowly and loudly, unsuccessful mother. Why do you think that? You feel the need to grab my grandson's iPad to entertain your son. I forgot to add that she was standing up and her head was over us this entire time. With that, my grandfather grabbed my hand and moved us to the other end of the carriage. You can't change from one train car to another whilst it's moving on this train. And that is how you do not parent a child. I really did feel bad for the child. He was nothing but polite and pleasant towards me. His mother just wanted to shut him up though, even though he only asked his mother to play around 2 times. But I was thankful for my GP for standing up for me, as I was quite young at the time, only 11. Well, this savage grandpa is definitely the hero in this story, and I want more stories of savage grandparents like this one shutting up EPs once and for all. Anyway, that is the end of another episode of r/EntitledParents. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, like, share and subscribe for more Reddit content from me.